Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Timeless Sagas, where we dig deep into the annals of human history and unearth the most fascinating stories from our collective past. Today, we're going to embark on a journey of astronomical proportions, as we explore one of the most monumental events in human history, an event that changed the course of our species forever, the moon landing. Now, before we blast off into the story of how humanity first set foot on our celestial neighbor, let's rewind the clock back to the 20th century, a time of unprecedented progress and rivalry between two global superpowers, the United States of America and the Soviet Union. This epic face-off between two ideological titans would come to be known as the Cold War. And as with any good Cold War, you need a bit of a space race to really heat things up. The race to the moon was, in many ways, a technological and ideological battlefield, where each side sought to prove its superiority over the other. That's right, folks, we're talking about the age-old contest of my rocket is bigger than your rocket. Now, let's zoom in on the United States, where President John F. Kennedy, a charismatic leader with a flair for the dramatic, made a bold and ambitious announcement in 1961. He declared that the United States would put a man on the moon and bring him back safely to Earth by the end of the decade. Talk about setting the bar high, huh? This ambitious goal was not only a display of technological prowess but also a symbolic victory over the Soviet Union, who were making impressive strides in space exploration at the time. The Soviets had already launched the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, and put the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into orbit. The United States was playing catch-up, and boy, did they have a lot of catching up to do. Enter NASA's Apollo program, a series of space missions designed to get American astronauts to the moon and back safely. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though, as the tragic loss of 3 astronauts in the Apollo 1 launchpad fire in 1967 was a stark reminder of the dangers and risks involved in space exploration. But, like any good underdog story, NASA and the United States would not be deterred. They pressed on, driven by the spirit of human curiosity, exploration, and just a smidge of good old-fashioned competition. Now, fast forward to July 16, 1969, when Apollo 11, the spacecraft that would carry astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins to the moon, blasted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The world watched in awe and anticipation as these 3 brave men embarked on a journey that would take them farther from Earth than any human had ever been. The stakes were high, and the margin for error was razor thin. But, as we'll soon see, the crew of Apollo 11 was more than up to the challenge. Apollo 11's journey to the moon was not a straight shot. The spacecraft first had to enter Earth's orbit, where it would circle the planet before executing a series of complex maneuvers to set it on a course for the moon. After a nerve-wracking 3 days of travel through the vast emptiness of space, Apollo 11 finally arrived in lunar orbit, and the real fun was about to begin. Now, you might be thinking, okay, we're in lunar orbit, time to land this bad boy and take some giant leaps for mankind, right? Well, not quite yet. You see, Apollo 11 was actually composed of 2 separate spacecraft, the Command Module, named Columbia, and the Lunar Module, named Eagle. The Command Module would remain in lunar orbit with Michael Collins on board, while the Lunar Module, carrying Armstrong and Aldrin, would attempt the perilous descent to the moon's surface. And so, on July 20, 1969, Armstrong and Aldrin climbed into the Eagle and began their descent to the lunar surface. The world held its breath as they descended, navigating around craters and boulders, searching for a suitable landing site. The fuel was running low, and the tension was palpable. But, with just seconds of fuel remaining, Neil Armstrong calmly announced, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." And, with those historic words, humanity had achieved the seemingly impossible, a successful landing on the moon. Now, it was time for one of the most iconic moments in human history, as Neil Armstrong descended the ladder of the lunar module and set foot on the lunar surface. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," he proclaimed, and the world erupted in celebration. Buzz Aldrin soon followed, and the 2 astronauts spent over 2 hours collecting samples, planting the American flag, and taking photographs that would become some of the most famous images in human history. But, as much as they might have wanted to, Armstrong and Aldrin couldn't stay on the moon forever. They had a rendezvous with their fellow astronaut, Michael Collins, who was patiently orbiting the moon in the Command Module. After a successful lunar liftoff and docking with the Command Module, the trio began their journey back to Earth, their mission a resounding success. On July 24, 1969, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, and the world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The astronauts were hailed as heroes, and their achievement was celebrated around the globe. The United States had accomplished its goal of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth, and in doing so, had secured its place as a leader in space exploration. The moon landing was much more than just a victory in the space race. It was a testament to the incredible power of human ingenuity, determination, and curiosity. It showed us that, when we set our minds to something and work together, we can achieve wonders beyond our wildest dreams. The Apollo 11 mission was not just an American triumph, but a triumph for all of humanity, as we took our first steps into the vast, uncharted expanse of the cosmos. So, as we look up at the moon tonight, let's remember the incredible story of Apollo 11 and the brave astronauts who dared to venture where no one had gone before. Let's celebrate the spirit of exploration and innovation that has driven our species throughout history and will continue to propel us ever forward into the great unknown. And, with that, we'll close the book on this chapter of Timeless Sagas. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep reaching for the stars.